The 2021 NFL Draft is complete, and the Pittsburgh Steelers added several players they hope will be the core of their offense in the coming decade. Today on Steelers Draft 2021, we'll break down every one of those picks with help from former Steelers quarterback Charlie Batch and NFL draft expert Matt Williamson. We'll also hear directly from the players themselves for their instant reaction to becoming Pittsburgh Steelers. 2021 Steelers Draft on KDKA starts right now. Welcome inside our KDKA studios for our Steelers Draft headquarters. Their 2021 draft is in the books. If you're a Steelers fan, you want to stick around for the next 30 minutes. Good evening. I'm Rich Walsh. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to go over today, 9 picks for the Steelers, and we will talk about each and every one of those picks, and we will do it with the best group of guys in town to break it all down. Our Steelers analyst, former Steelers quarterback Charlie Batch, the one guy that knows exactly what the Steelers need, and NFL draft expert Matt Williamson. Not many people know more about each and every one of these prospects than him. And guys, before we get into every pick, I want to get your thoughts about the draft overall for the Steelers. Charlie, we'll start with you. How do you think the Steelers did, and are you good with how the draft fell for them?
Yeah, I am. I mean, obviously, I was scratching my head a little bit with the second-round pick with the tight end. But other than that, I thought they really went out and delivered everything that they needed to deliver in this draft, especially for offensive line up front. Everybody's complaining about whether or not it was early enough, but I thought based off where the selections were, I thought the Steelers did a really good job.
Matt, I'm excited about some of these guys. What kind of grade do you give the Steelers for this year's class?
Yeah, I'd probably go with a B+. I think there's a theme here with tough physical football players, versatile football players at key positions that can probably see some early playing time, but also have high long-term ceilings. And, I think that they're also a very productive group. So I'm very fond of this draft class.
Okay, this is what the Steelers did this weekend in the first round. They got the guy they wanted, Bama running back Najee Harris. Best running back on the board. They went offense for the first 4 picks. Penn State tight end Pat Freiermuth in the second round. Then in the third, they went out and got an offensive lineman, center Kendrick Green from Illinois, and possibly the replacement for Marquise Pouncey. They stayed with offensive line and got a tackle in the fourth, Dan Moore, and went back-to-back Texas A&M picks in the fourth, taking inside linebacker Buddy Johnson with their compensatory pick. The Steelers did not originally have a 5th-round pick, but traded away a 4th-round pick next year to go and grab defensive tackle Isaiah Loudermilk from Wisconsin. And then in the 6th, they took outside linebacker Quincy Roche from Miami. 2 picks in the 7th. Cornerback Trey Norwood. Tomlin called him a Swiss Army knife. And punter Ray Guy Award winner from Georgia Tech, Pressley Harvin III. He's 5'11" and 263. On Friday, the Steelers' top pick made his way into town and was actually the first trip to the Steel City. He's never been here before and had a chance to take in some sights before heading to Heinz Field to check out where he'll be playing. The Steelers wasted no time when they were on the clock to draft Harris. He was the guy they wanted all along. This fills what is, in my opinion, the biggest need for the Steelers. They didn't have a starter until Thursday night. Harris was the rare combination of size, speed, and quickness, 6'2", 230 pounds. I think maybe almost like a Le'Veon Bell, prototypical Steelers running back. He was one of the top recruits in the country before starring at Bama, continued his dominance with the Crimson Tide. Last year he proved he could be a 3-down back, improving his pass-catching abilities and blocked well in pass protection. Harris comes from California via Alabama with some pretty good stats to back up why he's worthy of that 24th pick. Most rushing yards in Bama history, and that's pretty good history right there. Also 57 touchdowns, which is also the most in school history. 2020 SEC Championship MVP, plus Doak Walker, a winner. Arguably the most productive player in college football this year.
Najee's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism. He's got the run skills to run inside and outside. And, also he can also play in the passing game, both as a receiver and a blocker. I mean, he's a 3-down NFL back. He played in an NFL system, and his one hidden trait is he finds invisible yards at that second level. There's times where you think he should just be going down, and all of a sudden he finds 6, 7, 8 yards.
He's got a nice combination of size, strength, and athleticism. His pick and vision is excellent in terms of finding holes. He shows patience while doing that. He's a complete back. He's very good in the passing game, whether it's routes out of the backfield or aligning outside the backfield. There's not a lot of holes in his overall game.
All right, guys, let's start breaking down this first pick. Charlie, why do you think the Steelers went running back here with this pick? They had a few needs and could have went in a few different directions.
I really thought that they were going to go offensive line, but when all the scenarios that you mentioned as you were explaining Najee in this situation, here's a guy who averaged 6 yards a carry at Alabama, something that's unheard of over the last 3 years. So if you're Eddie Faulkner, the running back coach, if you're Matt Canada, the new offensive coordinator, you are ecstatic with this pick because you now know you have a young back that defenses are going to fear, but at the same time, something that has been missing in this offense, the play action game. You know that element of this offense is something that can now be elevated and you can utilize some of your weapons in the middle of the field.
No question about that, Matt. Most people had Harris as the top-ranked running back. Did you agree with that pick? Did you have him as your top back?
Clearly. And for all the reasons that have been mentioned thus far, as well as being an elite short yardage rusher, which has been a real problem here for a while. Something that he went back to school. Some people thought he'd come out last year, got way better in the passing game. He has unusually long arms, a huge wingspan, uses that to stiff arm guys, has a great big catching radius, uses it well in protection, swivel hips, strength, speed, power, vision. I really think he's a great player.
Charlie, so conventional wisdom is not taking a running back in the first round. A lot of so-called experts think you should wait to take a running back, maybe later in the draft or a free agent. But my question here, didn't they already try that? It didn't work out really well with James Conner. Obviously, injuries played a factor in that in the third round. Benny Snell in the fourth round. Jalen Samuels, Anthony McFarland in the fifth round. I could go on.
And when you have those running backs all rotating in the manner that they were, defenses now, they say, okay, he's a screen draw guy. Okay, this is a guy who's inside the tackles. But with Najee on the field, you have to be honest. And what Matt just mentioned, especially in the passing game, yes, he can go out there and catch passes out of the backfield. But the one thing that I love about him is the fact that he actually can stay in on third down, pick up the blitzes, and that's what's needed in his offense. And if you can do that and pick up the checks in the manner that Ben Roethlisberger checks at the line of scrimmage, man, we're looking for some good times ahead with Najee.
Okay, now it's time to hear from the Steelers' first-round pick who's spending time in Pittsburgh, getting to know his new team, his new city. Steelers.com, Missy Matthews asked him a couple questions.
All right, going back to your career at Alabama, a lot of decisions made to stay on numerous occasions. What are you most proud about, something that you accomplished or were able to do during your time there with the Crimson Tide?
I'll say there's two things. One of them was when we won the national championship my freshman year. When they just threw a lot of freshmen in the game when we're losing. I think we were down by like 2 touchdowns, I think, or something like that. And they just threw all us in the fourth quarter, me and numerous other freshmen. And we came out victorious. That was another historic night and a moment for not only Alabama, but just college football in general. That was one thing. I guess I have three actually. And another one was when it was it was SEC championship this past year against Florida, and they had a lot of high-profile athletes there, and it was a shootout. It was a really fun game. That was probably one of our hardest games the whole year. And then the protest about the social injustice matters. That was another one too.
All right, the hurdle. Your mom has gone on record saying that she has not really loved it, but you have gotten better at it. What is the art of the hurdle? It's just jumping over people and being able to survive it, basically.
Well, I mean, I didn't know she said that, but I got better at it because she never liked me. Neither did Saban like me. Coach Saban liked me hurdling. But it's more of an instinct thing. I am a bigger back, so defenders tend to go low on me. So I want to have an answer to all my any situation that I'm in. So how I'm surviving, I don't know, the grace of God. I don't know how I survive something, to be honest with you. Because when I'm in the air, I'll be like, oh man, I make sure I get up as high as I can though, because if I get hit, it's gonna be a lot of impact on the ground.
All right, thanks, Missy. You can watch the entire full-length interview at Steelers.com or the official Steelers mobile app. Let's take a look at the Steelers depth chart in the backfield right now. Harris should be the starter. The one knock on Harris is his age. You can see he's about the same age as all the other Steelers running backs. Benny Snell will make this team and will spell Harris. Jalen Samuels could be the odd guy out. He's only signed through this season. Anthony McFarland, who was drafted last year, and Kalen Ballage, they just signed this offseason. Well, we're far from finished. We have 8 more picks to talk about. Coming up next, the Steelers go back to Penn State for another tight end. Welcome back to Steelers Draft 2021, presented by UPMC. So there was a lot of attention for the Steelers' second-round pick on Friday. Many thought it was for sure an offensive lineman, right? Since they didn't go in that direction in the first round, maybe in the second round, but they didn't. They went with Penn State tight end Pat Freiermuth, who was a guy they couldn't pass up on. He was pretty special at Penn State and might have been a top 20 pick if it wasn't for a shoulder injury. There was a lot of speculation Freiermuth was going to opt out, but he decided to play this year. Big guy, 6'5", 250 pounds, second tight end off the board. He holds Penn State's record for most touchdowns by a tight end with 16. Freiermuth is from New England, so his nickname is Baby Gronk. If he is as good as the real Gronk, then the Steelers will be pretty happy with this pick. 92 receptions, 1,185 yards in 30 games for the Nittany Lions, 2-time captain and Happy Valley. So they know they're getting a leader. The best news is his injury is good and he's cleared for contact. It was an interesting moment for Freiermuth when he got the call from Tomlin.
I kind of felt like if I was there at 55 that they might draft me. And when I saw that Pittsburgh area code, I thought it was one of my friends from Penn State pranking me, but I answered the phone and it was Coach Tomlin, and it was just one of the best. It was the best feelings I ever had playing for an organization that's such storied as the Steelers, and especially having Franco Harris announce my pick, and he's a legend from Penn State and the Steelers, and that was just a huge honor, and I'm just very excited to be part of this organization.
And then in the third round, they got center Kendrick Green out of Illinois. Started 33 straight games at Illinois. Consensus all Big Ten first team. He started 3 games at center his senior year. So even though the Steelers are penciling him in at center, he does have a lot of versatility. They are hoping he is their center of the future and Marquise Pouncey's replacement. And the one thing Green does not lack is confidence.
Obviously, I feel like I'm a really athletic offensive lineman. I feel like I'm the most athletic offensive lineman in this year's class. And I play with the mean streak. I'm looking to play physical and finish guys. So I think that's something I think will translate over well. I think hopefully I come and fit right in. But yeah, I'm just looking to come in, be a sponge, soak up, whatever from the older guys. And I just want to be a workhorse and be ready to get to work.
So let's bring back Charlie and Matt. Charlie, you surprised they didn't go with a lineman instead of Freiermuth?
I was just in that second round. I mean, if it was flip-flopped, I would have been okay with that. But that just lets me know how high Pat was on the Steelers draft board, because when they're evaluating, do you now reach for an offensive lineman or do you stay with where Pat is at based off how you ranked him during pre-draft evaluation? So that's exactly what it explained. So now you have a fresh toy. One thing with new coach coming in, Alfredo Roberts, new tight ends coach, he now has a fresh new toy to play with as he's now figuring out how his room is going to maneuver. But I think the one thing and caveat to this is Eric Ebron is in the last year of his deal. So now this secures a nice young talent over the next few years.
So as a quarterback that played in the NFL, you more excited about a pick like this? And how do you like it? And how do you think Ben likes getting another weapon out there?
No, I'm excited about this because you need 2 tight ends in this league. Last year, yes, we had Vance McDonald. You thought Zach Gentry was now going to elevate his game going from year 1 to year 2. It didn't happen. So right now there was a hole there. Now, that made me think if they didn't pick somebody up in the draft, maybe you had Jesse James sitting there out on the street waiting for that phone call to fill the void. But they knew coming into this in the zone scheme that Matt Canada is looking to run, he's going to need 2 solid tight ends to be able to secure the edges.
So, Matt, they finally go offensive lineman in the third, Kendrick Green. This guy seemed to be off the radar. A couple guys ranked higher. What do you think about him, and why did the Steelers like him over some other guys?
I like him a lot. I talked him up a lot before the draft. He really explodes off the ball, and you saw that with his testing numbers too. His jumps were very indicative of that. He's a very mobile run blocker, as he mentioned. He can get out and pull. He can change direction in space to hit smaller objects. He's still working on protection a little bit. but he's a plug-and-play run blocker, learning the center position, but he's exactly the style of center they like, and he brings a lot of enthusiasm and energy to the team.
So, Matt, my second question, are you surprised they addressed center before tackle? I thought tackle was a bigger need.
No, it is a really deep tackle class. It was a good center class as well. It was a very good offensive line class in general, where tight end and running back was surprisingly thin. So I think that's why they did it in the order they did. I think they're a lot higher on their current tackles than many might realize. And I think that the need for a starting center for now and the future was greater than it was a tackle.
All right, thanks, guys. Coming up next, we'll see a lot more of you two. And the Steelers have found a few diamonds in the rough over the years. Are there any in this year's class? We give our opinions after the break. Stay right there.
Steelers Draft 2021 is presented by UPMC.
Well, look at Heinz Field right now. 9 new draft picks. We'll be calling this home in a few months. Harris already took a visit there. Freiermuth is very familiar with this place. These guys will be coming in and out the next few days to check out the home of the Steelers. The Steelers originally had 5 picks today, but turned it into 6 by giving up a 4th-round pick next year. They started the day with 2 Texas A&M guys. In the 4th round, offensive tackle Dan Moore, his teammate, inside linebacker Buddy Johnson. That extra pick in the 5th round, they really liked Isaiah Loudermilk from Wisconsin and felt he was worth giving up a 4th next year to go get him. He might be the future inside for the Steelers. Outside linebacker Quincy Roche from Miami in the 6th, and then in the 7th, 2 guys, cornerback Trey Norwood. Tomlin called him a Swiss Army knife. And then punter with their last pick, Ray Guy, award winner, the best punter on the board, Georgia Tech. This guy's big too, Pressley Harvin. The 3rd, he's 5'11", 263, looks like he could play linebacker maybe. Charlie, they waited until today to draft a tackle. Do you think that's because the Steelers feel more comfortable, pretty comfortable with the tackles as opposed to other positions up front?
Yeah, they are. I mean, we know what we have in Chooks Okafor, but nobody knew what was happening with Zach Banner. He did a nice job of rehabbing and keeping that weight off. So heading up to draft, they felt very comfortable with where Zach was at. So, yes, we do have our 2 starting tackles, but what does it look like from a backup position? They needed to address that, and they did that in this draft.
Matt, they went back-to-back Texas A&M picks. Tell us what you know about those guys and Buddy Johnson. I really like this guy, and it seems like he really fits in well with the Steelers.
Yeah, I'll start with Buddy Johnson. I mean, he is going to be a phenomenal special teams player. He is very aggressive, team captain type, runs well, downhill player, but has the speed to kind of go sideline to sideline as he develops his coverage abilities. Dan Moore might be for another day. You know, he's long-armed, light on his feet, good in space, as I mentioned with Kendrick Green, you know, able to hit smaller objects while coming downhill. Probably could stand to get a little bit stronger, but he also has some guard capabilities too. So I think both those guys could work out well.
You know, I want to ask both you guys this question. I'll start with you, Matt. They traded next year's 4th-round pick for a 5th-round pick this year to get Loudermilk. Do you think it's worth it?
I didn't know a lot about Loudermilk before this, to be very honest with you. And I think next year's draft overall should be a lot more deep and a lot better than this one, particularly in the mid-rounds, because they'll have more people eligible for it, all the guys that go back this past year. But when I dug in, and also they're going to have some comp picks next year too, which is key here. So they are going to have some extra picks at their disposal. But Loudermilk is really the ideal 3-4 defensive end, tall, long, perfect situation for him to learn from Hayward and Tuitt.
All right, so the Steelers hit on a few late draft picks. We saw that right there. We all know about Antonio Brown being a 6th-round draft pick, but look at this list. Vince Williams was also a 6th-round pick, and he's been a valuable part of this defense. Willie Gay, 5th-round pick. Brett Kiesel was a 7th-round pick. They drafted Aaron Smith in the 4th. Stay right there. Coming up, we take a look at a few starters from last year's team that are still available, but maybe not for long, what their future holds after the break.
Steelers Draft 2021 is presented by UPMC.
All right, welcome back. Ella Villanueva is still out there, but it doesn't sound like for long. One thing we do know is run with the Steelers is over, but it could happen in Baltimore. He's expected to sign with the Ravens. Avery Williamson also still available. He's hinted on social media a few weeks ago about rejoining the Steelers, but nothing yet. Williamson could cost the Steelers a 5th-round pick next year to acquire him. So, Charlie, I wanted to ask you about Al Villanueva going to the Ravens. I mean, that's kind of crazy. He's going to the heated rival, right? Do you think he'll work out there? Because they mainly run the ball, and he's not known for run blocking.
That is true, but it is always tough. But this is just a reminder that this is a business, and people move on, and organizations will move on from players at some point in time. So the Ravens look like they've found out what that formula looks like from a compensation standpoint, so they make sure that the Steelers aren't getting an extra pick. So I expect that signing to happen this week, but it's just one of those things that nothing surprises me anymore in this league.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Great time, great analysis. We'll do it again next year, right?
Absolutely.
All right, great insight, great stuff. It's always fun to see how these things all play out over the next couple of years. By the way, the Steelers schedule will be announced on May 12th. Thanks for watching. For Charlie Batch, Matt Williamson, I'm Rich Walsh. Have a great night, and we'll see you later.